Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Nandini Harsh, Assistant Professor Law, Department of Criminology, under National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science, under Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. The topic for today's discussion is communalism and related issues, a threat to internal security. The learning objective of this module is to make the learners understand how communal violence is a threat to internal security of India, and also to make the learners understand the meaning of communalism and the nature and scope of it, to acquaint the learners with reasons for occurrence of communalism in India, and also to make the learners understand the upshots of communalism on Indian society. India has preached non-violence to the world through Mahatma Gandhi. The country which stood as a role model has been suffering from curse of communal violence. The communal violence is a distinct feature of communalism. The violence in this context is considered as communal because it is orchestrated event which is based on the collusion and involvement of political leaders who enjoy the tactics of religious appeasement. Communalism is generally associated with narrow, selfish, divisive, and perspective aggressive attitude on the part of a religious group. The communal violence has been taking place from time immemorial, but the serious consequences could be felt during independence struggle in India, especially during partition of India in 1947. The communalism has posed a grave concern and the biggest threat to internal security of India. Internal security refers to protection of a motherland within its borders. In other words, it also implies maintenance of law and order and peace and upholding of internal sovereignty within the territory of India. The internal security is in the hands of Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. The communal violence and riots has caused immense human suffering in India. It has become a major cause of concern for the Government of India to prevent violence on communal lines and restore peace. Now we'll discuss what is communalism. According to Abdul Ahmed, communalism is defined as societal phenomena featured by the religion of two communities which often lead to animosity, strain and rioting between them. Whenever two factions belonging to diverse religion who are religiously motivated clash with each other, then it is communal riots. These riots are violent in nature and leads to destruction of property and human lives. Wilkinson has differentiated communal violence into two philosophies: instrumentalism, which means politicians mold religion for their own end and religious philosophy play no role in it. And next is primordialism, which refers to primitive religious ideologies and perspective that others are to be accused for communal violence. He believed in instrumentalist view and charged politicians for communal violence, for seeking to achieve votes. The politician can instigate, thwart and quell violence, and their choice depends on the political arena in that area. It is advantageous for them to divide Hindu and Muslim through aggression and hatred, but in other circumstances where they are required to form coalition with opposite parties, their communal violence may be counterproductive. Brass has also agreed with Wilkinson's instrumentalist explanation of communal violence and claims that the riots are dramatic creation of specific persons, groups and parties operating throughout institutionalized rights network within a discursive framework of Hindu-Muslim communal opposition and antagonism that in turn produces specific form of political practice that makes riots integral to the political process. Now we'll discuss the causes of communalism. The first important cause is electoral incentives. The political parties often arouse people's religious sentiments and identity for their vote bank. The electoral incentive may not be the only cause, but it does lead to communal violence. The politicians in electoral races generally sensitize people about their ethnic character, which favor their party. This sensitization about the ethnic character leads to communal violence and riots. The political parties decide which echelon of ethnic identity to appeal, such as religion, caste, language, and region. Such decision is based on number of factors like political party nexus with other ethnic group, the number of votes needed to win election, the extent to which ethnic identities are sustained by the economic, social and religious and political contingencies. Thus, the political party tries to win vote bank on the lines of religion. Due to these reasons, the Supreme Court of India declared in the case of Dr. Ramesh Yashwant Prabhu versus Shri Prabhakar Kashinath that seeking votes in the name of religion, caste or community is a corrupt practice and prohibited party from using it as a means of gaining votes. The decision was pronounced by 7-judge Constitution Bench, which further held that those candidates who would indulge in such practice, then election will be declared void. The next cause is economic factor. The economic explanation for Hindu-Muslim divide is the result of growing economic struggle in the labor market. P.R. Rajgopal said that in 1984, the communal riots in Western Indian textile in Bhiwadi, where 109 people were killed and 100 injured, was a planned attack. However, this Hindu-Muslim competition is primarily restricted to small-scale production in towns and cities. It has been indicated that higher economic growth leads to lower incidence of communal riots. The economic growth has influence on incidence of riots as it also influences electoral competition and electoral incentives. The sluggish rate of economic growth enables the opportunistic politicians to provoke religious sentiments in order to divert the attention of voters from declining economic condition for which they might be held responsible. The next cause is religious consciousness. The involvement of religion in violence has considerably increased as people give more importance to their religious identity than national identity. In the present modern world, religion and violence are viewed as a trend that goes together hand in hand. For many Western world, Islam is considered as a religion which is intrinsically violent. Hall said that there is no unequivocal relationship between religion and violence, but it has a relationship under certain situations and circumstances. Religious violence or communal violence, as we articulate in India, is used as a means for establishing identity and justifying violent actions. The religion is used for lashing out aggression when people consider their religion as a supreme and do not have compassion for other religions. Appleby believed that religion hardens individual characteristics and segregate in-group and out-group bonding. Referring violence as religious does not imply accusing religion for violence, as there are umpteen reasons involved which intermingle with religion. The next cause is past history of violence in India. A communal and distorted presentation of Indian history was a foremost means for spreading communal hatred and feeling and primary element of communal ideology. The communal interpretation of history is basis of communalism. The communalist recognizes Indian history as elongated chronicle of Hindu-Muslim conflict. Hindus and Muslims were primarily aggregated in two separate blocks whose relations were unsympathetic, sore, and distrustful. The serious consequences of communal violence, which was seen during independence of India, continued to felt till today in the modern society. Now we will discuss the consequences of communalism which disturb internal security. First is loss of umpteen human lives. The communal riots or violence have always witnessed the perishing of precious human lives. In 2013, communal attacks in Muzaffarnagar, in which close to 50 people were killed and several hundred people received injuries. In the past also, such as in Gujarat riots in 2002, the Indian government estimated the death toll to be more than 850 people. In anti-Sikh riot which broke out in 1984, consequent to the assassination of Indira Gandhi, close to 3,000 Sikhs were killed. The next is infringement of human right. Every citizen of India has been guaranteed under Article 21 right to life and personal liberty under the Constitution of India, but these rights are denied to people. The communal violence is an expression of such denial of rights where people are brutally murdered and killed in the name of religion. The preamble of India declares India to be a secular country with no discrimination based on religion. The Constitution also guarantees freedom of religion to its citizens, but it curtails for narrow beneficial electoral interest. Next is displacement of people. Displaced person means a person who has been compelled to leave his or her place of ordinary residence. Communal violence compels people to run for saving of their life. They are forced to leave their hometown or land in which they have settled for generations and with which they are emotionally attached or depended upon. In 2013, Muzaffarnagar communal violence, at least 55,000 people have been displaced. The Prevention of Communal and Targeted Violence, Access to Justice and Reparation Bill 2011 defines internally displaced person as any person who has been forced to leave his or her home or place of ordinary residence as a result of organized communal or targeted violence to any other location within India. The communal violence leads to not only loss of life but also other losses such as emotional, psychological and financial. The next consequences is impact on economy. The communal violence and riots leads to devastation of property and this interruption of economic activity. It causes shutting down of business and lower economic productivity. Business, trade and commerce can be carried on only in peaceful and serene environment. Every individual fears for their life, so a person cannot conduct the economic activity in disorderly and antisocial society. Mob generally attack public properties like buses, building and loot and plunder shops and showrooms. It can be said that destruction of properties by people filled with anger and resentment is common phenomena which is witnessed in each and every occurrence of communal violence. Now the next is brutality against women. The women are the worst sufferers as they face dual victimization of communal violence. Firstly, they suffer from brutal attacks and violence, and secondly, some people take advantage of this lawless situation by committing ghastly act of sexual assault and rape. Communal violence at the time of partition of India witnessed women being abducted, raped, passed on by one man to another, kept as mistress and sold as cattle, which shows the degraded position of women. The woman does not even feel safe in relief camps as there has been incidents of different kinds of violations of rights of women. It has also been seen that women do not come forward to register their complaints and generally remain silent due to fear of reprisals, stigma, lack of faith in state institutions, and poor track record of justice delivery. This requires urgent government attention as there is a need to create an environment that where women should feel safe and secure. The last consequence is loss of faith in state machinery. The occurrence of communal attack and violence shake people's trust and faith in the state institution. It is the responsibility of the state to protect the lives of the citizens and maintain peace and order in the society. However, the incidence of communal violence is the failure of the state to perform the duties or sometimes neglect to perform the duties. Now we will discuss the laws dealing with the communalism in India. The Indian Constitution represents equilibrium between fundamental rights and the obligation of the state to safeguard public order and non-discrimination. The preamble declares the state's commitment to secularism and people's commitment to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. The Supreme Court of India in S.R. Bommai vs. Union of India explained the concept of secularism as religious tolerance and equal treatment of all religious groups and protection of their life and property and of the places of their worship are an essential part of secularism enshrined in our Constitution. The Constitution of India guarantees to all citizens the following rights. Under Article 14, it provides equality before law and equal protection of law. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the ground of religion, race, sex, or place of birth. Article 25 guarantees freedom of conscience and right to profess, practice, and propagate religion subject to public order, health, morality, and other provisions of fundamental rights. Article 26 gives special protection to every religious denomination to manage its own affairs in matter of religion. Article 44 encourages the state to secure for its citizens a uniform civil code. The Supreme Court of India in Muhammad Ahmad Khan vs. Shah Bano Begum held that a common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to laws which have conflicting ideologies. The duty is also conferred on the Union to protect states against external aggression and internal disturbance, and also warrant that the government of every state should be carried on in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. On the scrutiny of the Indian Constitution, it is showed that public order is within the authority of state government and is provided in state list under Schedule 7 of the Constitution. IPC also deals with the communalism. Every act of violence is punishable under the Indian Penal Code. Several provisions of the Indian Penal Code deals with the matter of unlawful assembly, rioting, and prohibit enmity on the grounds of religion. Chapter 8 deals with the offences against public tranquility. Section 153A punishes promotion of enmity between different groups on the grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, caste, or community. Section 153 punishes any person who makes or publishes imputation or assertion which is detrimental to national integration. Section 148 punishes writing armed with deadly weapon, and Section 153 lays down provision for wantonly gives provocation with intent to cause riot. The absence of law dealing with communal violence is not the concern, but The failure to implement these laws is a big hurdle in confronting prevention and control of communal violence. It has been witnessed that over a period of time, the provision of IPC dealing with communal violence and its various aspects of crime has become redundant. Beside constitutional provisions and Indian Penal Code, there is no specific laws which deals exclusively with communal violence which challenges internal security of India. However, a bill called Prevention of Communal and Targeted Violence, Access to Justice and Reparation Bill 2011, which was introduced in the Parliament to combat communal violence, is pending. The entire bill is divided into 9 chapters and 4 schedules. It aims at combating and restoring communal and targeted violence against members of religious and linguistic minorities, including scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Apart from recognizing offences under IPC, the bill carves out certain additional offences such as breach of command responsibilities, dereliction of duty, torture, and sexualized offences. Finally, the bill details the provision of relief and rehabilitation of communal victims. As for summary, it can be said that communal violence and riots have always caused enormous negative consequences in the communities in different parts of India, which at times threaten the secular fabric of the country and causing plentiful fatalities and injuries, devastation of properties, displacement of lives, sexualized brutality against women, pressurized right to life and livelihood, and inflicted despair and social suffering on the people. The following suggestion can be made to deal with communalism. The government should take measures to ensure that all matters of communal violence should be registered and investigated, and perpetrators of it should be punished. The government should also check the funding of communal violence, restrict the financial transaction, and trace the sources of it. The government should also take firm steps to deter political parties and politicians from promoting communalism among the masses and forbid them from making hate speeches in public glare. The communal parties should be banned. The effort should be made to mobilize public opinion against communalism, and the attitude of people belonging to one religion should be changed towards the other religious communities in a positive manner. The government should also provide adequate and ample rehabilitation and opportunities for recovery of the victims of communal violence and riots by making available suitable relief camps and basic amenities. The government should also provide adequate compensation and restitution to the victims of communal violence. Strict and effective laws and legal provision should be enacted and enforced to fight against the communal violence. Thank you for watching the EPG Pathshala.